everyone. Welcome back. I'm Aaron to the Canadian Science Policy Conference. I'm here with Dr. Nadia Octave, medical physics at the Centre Hospitalier Universitaire du Québec. Hi, Dr. Octave. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you.
Awesome. So tell us about your research in medical physics and why it's important.
Well, so I'm a medical physicist. Medical physicists are like the people working in the dark side of the hospital. So we are never seen anywhere, but we work at night, like actually, secret agents kind of. But seriously, we are chemists, the equivalent of the chemist, but for radiation. So I will talk about medical physics generally, and then specifically to my work. So medical physics deal with all the application of radiation to human beings, well, to everything that is alive. So it implies radiation oncology, which is actually the area of medicine dealing with treating cancer patients with radiation, but also imaging. So all the application of radiology for diagnostic and therapeutic applications. Also nuclear medicine, radiation protection, radiation safety, all kind of application of radiation in the hospital. You are sure that there is a medical physicist behind it. But specifically, my day-to-day work implies working with radiation to treat cancer, prostate cancer. So what I do basically is I use small little radioactive seeds that I implant in different organs, and with treatment calculation algorithm, we actually optimize the dose in order to give the maximum dose to the tumor while sparing critical structure around the tumor. And this is done in brachytherapy procedure. So that's one of my main activity. And one of the other activities is radiation protection. So all the measures that we take in order to have a safe use of radiation inside the hospital, but not only for the patients, also for the staff and for the public. Let's say you want to install a new machine, and especially for Quebec City, where the hospital is right downtown, and one of our treatment machines is actually next to a restaurant. So you don't want having to enjoy a pizza and get irradiated at the same time. So what we do is we make sure that the walls practically are thick enough so that people outside the hospital don't get irradiated for no reasons. And also we make sure that people outside just walking their dogs don't get radiation for nothing. So that's in a nutshell what radiation protection is. And I also teach at the university for the medical physics graduate program for master's and PhD students, and as well as the residency program in radiation oncology. And and I get to come to wonderful conferences like this to talk about other things that I do outside my work. So basically that's what medical physics is, and my research right now concentrate on brachytherapy, so not for prostate this time, for gynecology, and we actually try to optimize, find the better way to give the better way to treat gynecological cancer patients while having the better outcome, and of course sparing quality of life, and giving patients even more chances to appreciate life as everyone should do. So this is in a nutshell what I do.
Awesome. Sounds exciting. So you participated in the inaugural Soapbox Science event that was in North America.
Yes.
Can you tell us about the organization, Soapbox Science,
Yes.
and why it was important that you participated in it?
Well, Soapbox, now this is something that I'm very, very, very not only interested in, but that I really believe in. So Soapbox is actually an outreach program which aim is to showcase women in science. So Soapbox event started in the UK, and this is actually now an international outreach program. It went to Australia, Ireland, Germany, different places, and this was the first time that it came to North America and to Canada. So, as I told you earlier, when I first heard about Soapbox, I wanted to participate. There was no question I wouldn't be on that in that event, because the idea is actually to go out there in a public space, literally public space. So it was, the first event was at Yonge and Dundas Street,
yes. Yeah.
which is one of the busiest
Yes.
corners in the world, I
Yeah.
have to say.
Yeah.
To go out there and explain what you do to a crowd that could go from a 5-year-old to your aunt next door. So basically, you have to go out there and put yourself on top of a box, really, like a wooden box, like with specific characteristics and so on, and explain that in. So you basically have an hour session divided in 4 small sessions where you explain and you take questions, and you have to have crops. You can have helpers to go around, like show figures, displays, and for myself. So I explained what prostate brachytherapy was, keeping in mind that I could have 5-year-old in my crowd.
Yeah.
And this happened actually. So
Oh, really?
I had to
Yeah.
explain what a prostate first was, for instance, to a 5-year-old. And my surrogate for the prostate was an apple.
Okay.
So no, I didn't bring the real prostate. But yeah, so it's basically important that well, first of all, that scientists go out there to communicate about science, because, well, I never thought of that before, but when you really think about it, science is funded by public money. So it's important that public gets something about it, and not only, you know, all the specialized people who would know about, you know, what is going on in the buildings and etc. I believe that science belongs to everyone, and everybody should know what is going on around. For the specifically, I mean, practically, because they actually give the money for that.
Yes.
That's one of the things. The other thing is, I believe that once you have something inside and you're passionate about it, it's important that you bring it outside. So for me, that was something that it's like, you know, giving that energy. I mean, transmitting that energy outside also. And another thing, of course, it's because Soapbox showcase women in science, and I never thought about that before. I've always considered myself as a scientist first.
Yes.
But, well, it's obvious I'm a female scientist.
Yes.
Then I'm a black female scientist.
Yes.
I mean, you can. I cannot hide it.
It keeps going, yeah.
Yeah, I cannot hide it.
Yeah.
So I'm a black female scientist. I'm a black female scientist in physics. Then I'm a black female scientist in medical physics. So this actually adds up, and then I'm realizing that actually I might have, you know, something to say about that, and people, young generation, can actually get inspired by that. And I'm not saying that in any kind of, you know, pretentious way or nothing, but because I remember that day when one of my teachers told me that, Nadia, you can do that, you should do that, or, you know, gave me that little push. And then I said, wow, if, you know, she believed in me, maybe I can do it. So I remember that specific day, that specific moment during my Soapbox session when I was explaining what the electromagnetic spectrum was, you know, because you cannot put the prostate brachytherapy there and just say, go with it. You have to go by steps and so on. And then there was that 5-year-old girl, and when I showed, you know, the spectrum with colors and the visible light and so on, and I could see seriously the sparkle in their eyes, and I'm convinced that if I, you know, if she took something from that, it was totally worth it. Totally worth it. And I'm sure that she will keep something about it. So
awesome.
yeah, so that's why I participated.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, it totally does. It totally does. So you grew up in the Caribbean.
Yes,
you received
I
your
did.
PhD in France.
Yes, I did.
And now you're working in Canada. So
Yes,
what
I
made
did.
Canada a sort of attractive location for you?
You know what? First of all, I don't know why. I always had that love story about Canada. I don't know why, really. Like I didn't. I took my first flight when I was 18, but I knew so much about Canada, so I don't know why Canada was in my head. But anyways, Canada for me is just the place where I see everything is possible. Really, it's a country, it's a land of thousands of possibilities. And I'm not saying that because, I'm sitting there and
Yeah.
I'm comfortable and so on.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying that if you really get there, if you really, put yourself there and you put your sweat in it, you will get there. You have the possibility to do that. This is what Canada represents for me. It's a land of diversity. It's a land where people feel included. It's a land where equity is possible. And coming from the Caribbean with all the heavy history of this region and France and all the knowing about history and all the heaviness of past events and so on. When you come to Canada, you have the feeling that if you really want to, you get there. You get there.
Awesome.
So,
Great.
yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we're at the Canadian Science Policy Conference.
Yes.
What can you tell us? What do you feel is the value in an event like this?
So, first of all, I have to say, I will be honest. I had no idea of the existence of such conferences, and I find that this is a fantastic conference. First of all, to just be educated on so many different topics. My only regret is that I couldn't go to lots of the sessions I wanted to go, but of course I couldn't cut myself in that
Exactly.
there. Impossible. But seriously, I think that we should get out of our comfort zone and box and labs and institutions and get educated on diverse topics which actually are so in the world right now. Like, well, of course I can talk about diversity, equity, inclusivity, but what about, indigenous science? What about holistic approaches to science? What about Science Slam? So, I think it's like a huge think tank where you can come pick up ideas, go outside, plant seeds, and at some point you will be able to harvest something from that. And to be specific about science policy, you cannot have any advances in science if we don't put some structure. And science policy is, I'm not saying mandatory, for me it's just straightforward. So I believe, and this is going to be my message when I go back to my professional association, I will really work hard so that we have a representation here, so that we make sure that we know what's going on, and we make sure that at least some of our members are educated on that.
Thank you very much. So where can more interested viewers find out more about your research?
So actually, you can go up to the website of Octave of Quebec, the university hospital. You can reach out to me very simply, really. I don't know if I can give my contacts, or you can find my contacts, or I'm on Twitter. I'm not a really good social media guru, but I understand the impact. And everybody should understand the impact of social media right now.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, people. But yeah, you can reach out to me. I'm very happy. Sometimes I'm very slow to answer, but keep pushing, keep going, and I will answer. I always answer, but sometimes it takes a couple of days.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to do that, really. And it's been a pleasure to come to talk to you.
Awesome.
Really,
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, it's fantastic to see that when you meet people who actually are on the same wavelength. Well, not to talk about physics again. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But seriously, it's like there is a resonance. That's all.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you.